If I'm being real with you, everything I teach my athletes inside the momentum method didn't just come from a textbook or a certification. It came from my own personal experiences of failing, being overlooked, and having to rebuild myself from the ground up. It took me years to figure out these four core beliefs that I now live by. It took me from being a doubted kid who really had nothing going for him in his life to where I am now as a Division One football player. And in this video, I'm going to walk through my exact life story and how I implemented these four core beliefs and how you are going to be able to implement these as well to start changing the trajectory of your life today. I'm going to outline step by step the exact belief system that built me into a Division One athlete. And what you're going to find out is there's absolutely nothing different between me and you besides the fact that I simply figured this out and actually implemented it through aligned action into my life. This is the momentum method. And the four pillars that we're going to be talking about today is going through my story and how I figured out relentless ownership, unbreakable systems, leveraging small wins, identity-based inputs, and how you can implement them into your life to take your athletic performance to a next level and get you closer to becoming that Division One athlete. Starting with relentless ownership. When I was a sophomore, I blamed others for my mistakes. I was back at my old school, Green Bay Southwest, and I was doing well. I found a lot of success on the field. I was all conference as a sophomore, yet I didn't take accountability for anything I do. I wouldn't hit the hole right, and I'd blame my O-lineman for blocking it wrong. I'd miss a tackle, and I'd say that my safety should have came down and had outside leverage on it to help me out. I was a good athlete, but I took absolutely zero accountability for what I was doing. Right? I was good enough to get by, and I was really the definition of a big fish in a small pond. It's Green Bay, Wisconsin, and if it weren't for the Packers, you would have never heard of Green Bay. And quite honestly, there's almost nobody going D1 out of the entire town. Maybe one or two guys every single year, but that's it. It's not like a powerhouse that you're going out to Florida, you're going out to Cali. Well, there's a ton of Division One athletes. It's simply there isn't that level of competition and quality, and the floor is a lot lower. And that allowed me to see success early, but I was really only that big fish in a very, very small pond. So then really I transferred to IMG Academy because I understood that concept right there. And this is really where reality hit me. In my first game, we played a really good team, Manatee, and I missed 5 tackles. And this was one of the lowest moments of my life, in all honesty, because I sacrificed so much to go to IMG. I completely abandoned the path of really being a regular high schooler, and I was committing to this D1 dream. My parents sacrificed so much for me to get here, and then I show up after doing all this hard work that I thought I was doing right and simply embarrassed myself on the field. I missed 5 tackles, and I thought this was going to be the end of literally everything because that's what it felt like at the time. I was right in it, and it felt just so terrible that I played so poorly in the very first game, and I couldn't live with that. And really what that caused me to do is that was really the exact moment that I decided I was going to take accountability for everything in my life. This is where I realized, right, I've been working hard, but I was blaming others. I saw now that last year, my sophomore year, I was blaming others for all the mistakes I had, and now it caught up with me. All the better competition and all these athletes that were just as good, if not a lot better than me at the time, exposed me, and really I played poorly because of it, and this is where I decided I need to make a change. So in all reality, it led me to unfathomable amounts of work and even some results where I started looking a lot better. I started performing a little better on the field, but I still felt like there was more to do. And that's where these next pillars come in. And if you're at that same position where I am or something similar to the point that you haven't taken relentless ownership of absolutely everything you do, you're blaming your teammates, you're blaming your teachers, you're blaming your parents for the exact situation you're in. That was the first mistake I made, and I don't want you to fall down that similar path. Step up right now and take that ownership. Use this video as the stepping stool for you to actually understand that there's more to give and that everything you do is a result of your own actions. Now, moving into what I need to learn next, Unbreakable Systems. So at this point, I didn't have a good junior season and I left IMG. I went back home in the spring. That was what me and my family decided to do. And I lost access to top tier coaching and the resources. And at the end of the year there, I felt myself slipping. Even still being there with just all the elite resources, I didn't have a coach breathing down my neck the entire time and holding my hand that I started to slip. I didn't train as hard those last 3 weeks I was there. I was kind of just going through the motions. I would show up, I wouldn't push myself. I'd skip occasionally. And I knew that that wasn't going to get me to those results. Right. And I understood that relentless ownership that I had built, right? I needed to take action and actually do something about it. This is me here going back home in January. It's 20 degrees outside, and I'm still finding a way to get work in. I understood all my teammates were still in Florida in the nice weather with these crazy facilities, and I'm just in my backyard with a bag, and I'm literally making a ski mask out of a shirt just so I can breathe because it was so cold outside, right? That relentless ownership, I built on it, and now I had to take action, actually build a system that was going to be similar to IMG. So I spent over 150 hours building a system that would take me to the next level. And now I call this the momentum method, but at the time, it was just a concept. It was just a concept of all these pillars adding up and the triphasic training and every accountability method I knew to bring the best out of myself because I knew I didn't have that coaching, the resources, the facilities, any of that at my disposal anymore for the rest of the offseason when all my other teammates did. And I knew I had that desire and that drive that I wanted to go D1 and I wasn't going to let anything stop me. So I took it into my own hands. I did something that 99% of people wouldn't want to do. I spent over 150 hours figuring it out and just putting in the hours at my desk, reading books, reading articles, literally everything to figure out what I was going to do to become that Division One version of myself. And really, I figured it out and my results began to skyrocket, yet I still found it difficult to consistently show up. I got a lot bigger, I got a lot faster, but there was still something going on in my mind where I couldn't consistently show up, and that was still holding me back from reaching that Division One level of myself, and I had to figure it out. And these systems are something that you need to implement in your life. And you're going to be asking how, what are they? I'm going to have those answered for you here at the end of the video. You just wait. Now, moving over to leveraging small wins. This is how I built consistency and took that next step into becoming that Division One version of myself. The entire time up until this point, my sophomore and junior year, I was output oriented. I was chasing every huge milestone, every offer, every award, every PR. That's all I cared about. I didn't care about the inputs or the small actions that would add up over time. And really, the more I achieved, the emptier I felt. All I was doing was chasing offers, trying to do this, trying to do that, but it never really made me personally fulfilled. Every milestone I hit, it felt like happiness just got another step further away because I'm like, oh, I just benched 300 pounds. That's my goal. I was like, okay, cool. It's cool for 5 minutes. It's cool for a day. But then what I realized is, okay, now I want to bench 315 pounds. And now I want to bench 335 pounds. I'll be happy when I hit that mark. And it just kept constantly pushing my happiness back to a point where I was so unfulfilled and honestly miserable my first semester at IMG. And this is where those last two pillars are now building here, that something still needed to change. I was seeing results, right? I was training at home. I was seeing results, but things needed to step up even more. This is where I built the non-negotiable threes in the first week that I was back home. I realized, like I said, that I need those systems, and this is one of the things I determined would help me. So the non-negotiable threes was having a workout, meal, and action that I would take every single day to get me close to my goals. So my workout, I'm doing a really intense workout based in my momentum methodology that I knew was optimized. I was working hard. Hard work was never an issue for me. It was always everything else. Then I'd have one really clean meal that helped get me towards my goals, and then I would take one action. And here is an example of that action. This is me in my garage in the middle of January, and it's 40 degrees outside. So that water is about 40, 45 degrees, and I sat in there every single morning at home, where I wanted to take control as many aspects of my life as possible. And this is one of the ways I knew how. Not only from the recovery aspects, but actually the mental benefits of, right, I'm getting up early and I'm eating the frog. That's saying I'm doing the hardest thing in my day. Getting in that ice water for 10 minutes straight was miserable. It was the hardest part of my day. Right? I understood that once that part of my day was over, I had so much momentum. I kept leveraging each of these small wins, three of these every single day, 21 wins a week, and it just kept on building and building and building to the point where I eventually got offered by Missouri State and I committed there, and it was amazing, right? It was everything I ever wanted. I got my Division I dream. It's an FBS school now, right? That came with other things. My ego was at an all-time high now. I felt like I was the man. I felt like I had done everything. All this work I did paid off, and it showed in the way I acted towards others. I wasn't the same person I was before I got offered, before I committed. I felt like I was better than everyone, and that led me to even more problems. And this is where I figured out my identity based inputs. So my worth was tied to those external factors, right? I was committed to a Division I school for 8 months, and that felt like I had done everything I deserved. It was, right, an ego boost. Like I said, it made me feel like I was the man, and it was really all my worth was tied to those external factors. And I didn't know that at the time. It was just my new reality. But it came to the fact when I lost my commitment after being committed for 8 months, and I got broken up with in the same week, all while there was a hurricane. I got exposed. It was the worst week of my life, and it really isn't even close. And that kind of made me realize that I didn't know who I was without those things, without my external validation of being a Division I athlete, without the external validation of being in a relationship. And then putting on top of that just the hurricane to throw everything absolutely on top, making it a terrible week, right? That made me realize that I thought I was someone who I wasn't. I was so focused on everything on the outside that I didn't know who I was, the person Jacob was on the inside. It was a low moment, right? This was definitely the lowest moment in recent memory because everything came crashing down so fast and just left me in the dust with nothing that I knew was familiar. I was stepping into the unknown, and I had to figure out a way to get through it and now find a new home for my commitment, which was now looming even closer. This was midway through my senior year. I thought everything was set. I was committed for 8 months, and I'm like, I'm going to go there in January. This is where I'm going to be. It's October at this point, and there's only a couple months, and now everything got stripped from me under my feet, and now I was sitting there, and I had to figure out what to do. At this point, this is where I met Dr. P, and he introduced me to identity-based habits. This is one of our mental performance coaches at IMG, super smart guy that helped me guide me into the position that I am now. And you're going to be asking, what are these identity-based inputs? And put it simply, it's reframing all my actions to, is this something the D1 version of Jacob would be doing? And let me explain that even further. So let's say it's after practice and I'm about to go inside, go to the field house, change, whatever. Would the D1 version of Jacob go inside right away, or would he stay out there for a couple extra minutes and get extra work? Those were the guiding principles towards me making these actions. And that led me, what I would do, I would spend that extra 15 minutes getting field work because I know that's what the Division I version, the current version of myself would do. Even though it wasn't physically manifested yet, that version of me that I am now, I could vision it. I could see it. I saw it out in front of me. I knew it was still there. And if you can see that vision in your head, all you have to do is make it reality. And it's just a matter of time when you work with aligned action. This is aligning all the actions I did. We think about I'm eating food, and it's like, would the D1 version of Jacob eat this pizza and cookies right now? No, the answer is no. And when you raise the stakes on what version of you you're talking to, you start to get to a point where these actions, it becomes even more clear. It becomes even more clear that you really only have one choice to become that version of yourself if you want. If I said, I want to become the Super Bowl champion, version of Jacob Hansen, the stakes get raised even further. There really is only one action, and it's extreme aligned action. Stuff that it's so simple. It becomes so clear on what exactly you need to do when you look into that future version of yourself that makes it nearly impossible to fail. With all those three previous pillars, right, you can have them, but those are all external things around you that can come and go, right? But when you decide to learn about identity based inputs and actually do those aligned actions to where you want to go, that's when things are really going to change for you. That's where all those three pillars are going to come in together, and you are literally going to become unstoppable. This is why I call it the momentum method, because when you build all four of these together, you're going to be like a train on the tracks. You try to stop a train on the tracks, it is not going to stop. All you have to do is just give it a little bit of wood, a little bit of coal, and it's going to keep going. All those small wins, all those systems that we built, that relentless ownership that you found, all four of these pillars are coming together to a point where it's going to be a new lifestyle. It's going to be exactly what you want. And there's really going to be absolutely no way to stop you. And that's where it led me to. It led me to becoming that Division One version of myself. I found a new home at Furman University, and now I want to lead you too. And with that being said, I do have something for you. I have an offer for you. So this exact system that I just outlined, that took me hundreds of hours, like I said, over 150 hours, even in the past to build it, and now even more hours that I've constantly been refining it with in over 3 years to perfect, that got me to look like this and become that Division One football player that I always wanted to become since I was a little kid, is now built exactly for your needs, and I'm going to outline exactly how. So I want to work with you one-on-one to gain 15 pounds of muscle and build an unshakable D1 level mindset with the momentum method I just talked about, all without living in the gym or following a boring meal plan. Because I understand you have a life outside of football, right? You don't want to be spending 4 or 5 hours in the gym every day. You don't want to follow boring 21 meals of chicken, rice, and broccoli. And I didn't either. I didn't have to do that, but it took me years to figure out all these things that I just outlined to get me into this position. And now I have it all packaged together for you to make a big investment into yourself and actually take yourself to the next level. Because really, all the information is out there that you need. You could find out all this information on your own, but are you actually going to do it? The reality is probably not. ChatGPT can go look up all this stuff for you, but are you going to actually have the accountability and the systems, like I talked about, that I even mentioned, those accountability systems that I didn't figure out, right? I slipped. I'm a Division One athlete, and even without accountability and systems, I still wasn't that best version of myself. But I want you to have all that at your disposal through my one-on-one coaching and make sure you can become that Division One version of yourself. And any of this resonated with you, and this is something where your desire to go D1, your desire to be the best version of yourself is just so unwavering that your life, this is what you want, this is your goal for your life for the near future. I want to work with you. I want you to go down into my description, click the Calendly link, and book a one-on-one discovery call with me. This is where we're going to go over an exact plan to do and make yourself into that Division One version of yourself. We're going to use all four of these pillars, and we're going to make sure that you can become that Division One version of yourself, that best version of yourself, through working with me one-on-one with my coaching from a Division One linebacker himself. I'm super excited to see every single one of you on the phone talking with you. And right, if we determine that it isn't something that makes sense for you, I'm still going to be guiding you in the right direction to make sure you are just one step closer to becoming that best version of yourself. I'm super excited to get to meet all of you, and I'm wishing you the best of luck. We'll be talking soon. Jacob Hansen, out.